motorcycle racing, and one which is rapidly gaining popularity around the world. It is called the Superbikers. Hello, I'm Jim Lampley. Very shortly, you're going to be seeing the final of this Superbiker competition, which was designed to see which of 3 individual disciplines of motorcycle racing would produce the best all-around riders. Earlier on Wide World of Sports, you saw the first 3 qualifying heats, in which in succession 3 motocross racers, 3 flat-track dirt bike racers, and 3 road racers all qualified into the 12-man final. Now, after those 3 qualifying heats, there was a 4th heat, a final chance for 3 more racers to make it into the final. Let's take a look now at what happened in that 4th qualifying heat. One significance of this repechage or semifinal heat was that for the first time, dirt track racers, road racers, and motocrossers were all on the track together, so that to the degree there are different styles, they began to emerge here. On lap 1, Billy Herndon, a dirt track racer, managed to stay up among the leaders, but the other 3 men at the front were all motocrossers. Danny Chandler, number 2, taking the lead. Herndon in 2nd place, number 14, Kent Howerton in 3rd place, and number 8, Hakan Karlquist in 4th place. Later, Billy Herndon would go out of the race, leaving dirt track racer Chris Carr to move up into 4th place. But this was the way it looked on lap 1, with 2 former champions up among the top 3. Chandler, number 2, the leader, had been the winner in 1982. Howerton, number 14, who had moved into 2nd place by the time of this shot, had won the event in its inaugural edition in 1979. By the time of the 5th lap, those 2 had established their domination of the repechage heat. And when Herndon, number 19, was to leave, then the top 3 riders in the race were motocrossers. The leader, Chandler, Howerton, number 14, in 2nd place, and Hakan Karlquist, number 8. 4th place belonged, as I had mentioned before, to dirt track racer Chris Carr, who at 17 years old was far and away the youngest competitor in the Superbikers competition. On the final lap, the motocross racers had clearly established their dominance. Former champions in 1st and 2nd places, both of whom had fallen in the preliminary heat for motocrossers, both of whom made good on their chance to come back and qualify in this repechage heat. It was Danny Chandler who led Howerton down the front straight toward the finish line. But when they reached the checkered flag, Howerton poked his front wheel ahead of Chandler's and took victory in the heat. Both of them qualifying safely into the final. The 3rd qualifying spot went to former World Grand Prix motocross champion Hakan Karlquist of Sweden. So now as they line up for the start, 6 racers, fully half the field, are from the motocross group. But the big story is the man who has not come to the starting grid. There in a nearby pit is the Yamaha motorcycle of world road racing champion Eddie Lawson, who a year ago became the first non-motocross racer ever to win the Superbikers event, and who, after breezing to 2nd place behind Wayne Rainey in his qualifying heat, had appeared to be a strong threat to win the title again this year. Obviously, there is a mechanical problem of some description, so in Lawson's absence, young Chris Carr now moves into the field as the first alternate, meaning the group of 12 includes 6 motocrossers, 4 dirt track riders, and only 2 road racers. Brock Glover and Rick Johnson in row 1 both live near here and know the course very well. Kent Howerton is a former champion in row 2, 29 years old, and there is speculation he'll be retiring from the sport after this year. Danny Chandler, another former champion in row 3, an erratic but talented racer who sometimes spells danger to the riders around him. The race is 10 laps long. Each lap is about 2 miles. Endurance is not a big factor. Versatility and racing skill are the keys. And there's the start. They will turn to the right, then make another turn, and then go down a long asphalt straightaway where they'll reach the highest speed they reach on the course. The man who has gone to the lead right now is number 3, Brock Glover, who earlier this year won the United States Grand Prix Motocross Championship right here in Carlsbad.
And Rick Johnson and Kent Howerton are right behind him, so 1, 2, 3 are all motocrossers at this point.
And when the motocrossers take off and establish a lead on the asphalt portion of the track, that gives you an idea of how great their dominance is here. They're supposed to be more effective on the dirt. They're already leading on the asphalt. They make this turn, and now they will move on to the dirt section of the course.
Things will be very very different, though, Tim, if Eddie Lawson, I think, was in the race. He represents road racing much more effectively than anyone else is able to.
Now, this first section of dirt is a long, wide turn which simulates oval track racing. Then from there, they move on to the bumpier, hillier motocross terrain. Already, as we've mentioned, the motocross riders out in front. As you look in the aerial shot, the man in white is Brock Glover, only 23 years old, but that makes him quite a veteran among American professional motocross racers. The average age of that group is more like that of the man in yellow chasing him, Rick Johnson. He's 20 years old and a good friend of Glover's who trains with him in El Cajon, California. So the two men at the front of the pack, Sam Posey, know each other about as well as they possibly could.
Well, and the fact that they're from California makes them typical in this field because of the 12 riders, 9 are from California.
Mark of the degree to which activity in this state dominates American motorcycle racing and how important this state is in the marketing of motorcycles. This race, like all motorcycle races, is a key vehicle in that marketing effort. Now they complete lap 1. Glover still on the lead. Ricky Johnson still in second place. Kent Howerton closing into a closer position in third place. Jeff Ward is fourth. All of them motocrossers will be back. The leader, Rick Johnson, still in second place. Kent Howerton in third place. Good battle now developing for fourth, as you see. 24-year-old Danny Chandler putting his bike on the inside of and past that of Jeff Ward. And now Ward, number 4, moving back ahead of Chandler and into fourth place. Great contrast in their two personalities. Danny Chandler, one of the most wildly inconsistent of riders, but a remarkable talent as you look at Glover, the leader. Jeff Ward is known, if anything, for his consistency and his continued tenacious effort. But Danny Chandler is a man who, when he is racing well, probably has more speed on the track. There's Brock Glover, who looks good, Sam Posey, in first place.
He does, but the distance back to Chandler, I've just been timing it, is only 2.5 seconds, and as they begin the third lap with just 8 laps to go, that is not too much for a man of Chandler's speed to make up.
So all 5 of the leaders still in contention. The bikes that you are watching them ride here are stock motorcycles. A little earlier, Sam Posey put together a report on exactly what that means.
In the world of motorsport, the word stock is generally a euphemism for a hugely expensive and very fast racing machine, which you and I will never have a chance to buy in a showroom. However, here at the Superbikers, the bikes used really are stock. In fact, most of them are based on production bikes that you can buy in the showroom, retail for under $3,000. Now, a few modifications are allowed. For example, you can hand build the exhaust manifold, giving your engine a few extra horsepower. You may fit disc brakes, front and rear, to the bike. Disc brakes are a little less resistant to fade during the race than drum brakes might be. You may size the front forks to optimize handling characteristics for this particular track. The total cost of these modifications, less than $1,000. Now, last year the rules standardized the engine sizes and types so that almost all the bikes will have about 55 horsepower. This year, the rules have standardized the tires. Each rider will ride on exactly the same brand and type of tire. And as you can see, it's basically a compromise between the knobby tire that you would want for running in the dirt and the slick tire that would be ideal for pavement. Have a look as our super slow-mo captures the tire in action on the 70-mile-an-hour left that precedes the uphill straight. Compared to the racing slick that would ordinarily be used on pavement like this tire breaks away into a slide more quickly, doesn't offer as much grip. So what makes one bike different from another? The man who rides it. So I guess this one has got no chance.
On the other hand, Sam, if it had 2 more wheels, you could take it to Indianapolis or Le Mans. Now, as they finish lap 3, Brock Glover remains on the lead. Ricky Johnson in second place. Kent Howerton, you saw go by, number 14 in third place. Ward and Chandler still dicing for fourth place. And I have to wonder, Sam Posey, Glover and Johnson are such good friends. Could it be that Howerton in third place is going to be facing a teamwork problem ahead of him?
I doubt it. I think that overtaking is fairly easy here. You see Chandler sweep by Jeff Ward there. I have a feeling that even if Johnson wanted to block, he probably would not be able to keep Howerton.
Interesting that in the United States Grand Prix motocross held here at Carlsbad just a couple of months ago, Glover won, but it was his good friend Rick Johnson who pushed him all the way to the wire and finished a very close second. Now here they are once again, first and second in the other big event, which is held here at Carlsbad, the Superbikers. And once again, the motocrossers are dominant, so you have to reflect again, Sam Posey, that the loss of Eddie Lawson has really done damage to this race.
Well, sure, Jim. Lawson, of course, is the current world road racing champion, and he was out even before the start with a mechanical problem. But Ken Howerton there, now running third, is an incredible addition to this event, and I am astonished at how well he's doing in this event. He is shadowing the two leaders and not losing an inch.
There are all three in the picture, and you can see that Rick Johnson has now moved up much closer to Brock Glover than he was at an earlier stage of the race. So though it is still early, it appears that Johnson may be plotting to try to pass Glover, or at least is intent on keeping pressure on his back wheel as he dogs him through the middle stages of the Superbikers final. Next week, leaders Brock Glover and Ricky Johnson behind those two. Kent Howerton, Danny Magoo Chandler, and Jeff Ward all waiting for one of the two leaders to make a mistake. Ricky Johnson still on the rear wheel of Brock Glover, and Sam Posey, I still believe he's sizing them up for a pass.
He may be very low light right now, Jim. As they head off this way, visibility becomes a real problem. They're looking right into the evening sun.
Now there they go onto the dirt. Johnson moving to the inside, and he's got him. Ricky Johnson, 20 years old, has just moved past 23-year-old Brock Glover into first place. Glover, for all his talent, is a rider who confesses to occasional lapses in concentration. Don't know if he wanted to let Johnson go by there or if he was unaware that he was going to pass him.
He hesitated as he turned into the sun and went under the bridge. He hesitated for a second. It shows you the course has a reputation for not treating people who make small mistakes kindly. In other words, a small mistake manifests itself into a big chunk of ground lost on the track. You saw it happen there.
One of the problems is that the dirt is very loose. If you lose your line here, you are likely to pay a much heavier price for it than you would pay on some other race courses. That's particularly true of the motocross courses in Europe, which are much heavier, softer dirt than this. Now they're back out onto the asphalt. Johnson's still the leader. Glover still in second place, and Kent Howerton becoming more and more of a factor.
Danny Chandler in fourth, about the same distance back of the leader. Of course, the lead has changed now as he was a lap and a half ago when I last timed him, so he isn't making much progress. It's really Kent Howerton, I would say, that is carrying the pace at this point and maybe the fastest moving racer on the course. In fact, you see Howerton there. For the first time, he makes a bid and gets by into second place. Kent Howerton.
One of the few non-Californians among the contenders. He's from San Antonio, Texas. His victory here in Superbikers in 1979, along with a lot of great performances in the 250cc class motocross races here, have made him a popular favorite in Carlsbad. They call him the Rhinestone Cowboy. And at 29 years old, he is far and away the oldest racer among those who are close to the lead. He's 9 years older than the man he's chasing right now, Ricky Johnson, and 6 years older than the man who's on his rear wheel, Brock Glover. So Howerton has a great deal more experience in racing than the two men he's dicing with here. And there he's going to go to try to go by Ricky Johnson, and I think he might have him. Sam Posey just for a moment on the outside, Howerton in front, but now Johnson is going to go back by.
And the motocross section ahead, the twisty sections of the motocross section. Ricky Johnson reassuming the lead, and that battle for the lead allowed Brock Glover to close up the gap. In fact, Glover now shoots by into second place, passing Kent Howerton. So it is a three-way battle for the lead as they traverse the motocross section.
Two Yamahas, those belonging to Johnson and Glover. Howerton is on a Kawasaki. Hard to tell if any of the three machines has a big advantage. Right now, it is the three men who are playing an intense psychological game with one another as they go around and around this 2-mile Superbikers course. Back onto the asphalt straightaway now. They will go past the two right-hand turns. Howerton again bidding to take the lead on the inside. Johnson, Glover. It is Glover who emerges with the lead this time. And now they will move back onto the straightaway where they'll reach speeds of up to 110 miles an hour.
We can expect to see some drafting, of course, as they accelerate up onto this fastest part of the track, but I doubt if any attempt to pass will be made before they reach the hairpin. That seems to have been the most volatile part of second.
And now it is Howerton who has gotten by Johnson once again by slipping to the inside of him. So Howerton takes over second place behind Glover as they are trading places back and forth. That asphalt section has to be quite a thrill for the motocross racers who aren't used to going much faster than 60 miles an hour on the dirt.
Doesn't seem to slow them up a bit, though. Look at how long the shadows are at this point. And there, of course, is the battle for fourth, currently being led by Danny Chandler, just ahead of Jeff Ward. But the battle continues to rage.
While in front of them, it is still Glover in first place, Howerton in second place, Ricky Johnson in third place. Lots of racing left to go. Any of the top 5 could still win. With the 10 laps in this Superbikers final, still Brock Glover on the lead, Kent Howerton in second place, Ricky Johnson third. Maybe our first clue today to the horsepower in Kent Howerton's bike was when he gunned it past Danny Chandler on the last straight of the repechage heat to win that. Now he has been racing in inspired fashion for the past few laps, and now, as they begin lap 8, he has moved by on the inside and taken the lead. So now it is Howerton in front, Glover in second place, Ricky Johnson in third. What a story Kent Howerton could become.
Well, you know, the intriguing thing is, Jim, that Howerton didn't even figure in Kawasaki's Superbiker plan. They had planned only to have one bike in the race. They had a budget only for that, and it was to be for Jeff Ward. But Kawasaki's team manager, at the last moment, secretly stretched the budget, built a second bike, didn't even tell Howerton about it until just a few days ago. Suddenly, he's in the race and leading it. Amazing.
Now they go around the hairpin and get ready to go back onto the dirt. Remember, this is lap 8. There are 2 more laps which will follow it. Howerton still with the lead. Glover right on his rear wheel. Ricky Johnson is there behind him. Danny Chandler 4th. Jeff Ward is 5th. Any of the top 5 still probably with a chance to win. And now look at Ricky Johnson. You can see him in the yellow. He has moved by Glover into second place and is drawing in on Howerton. All 3 of them still dicing wheel to wheel. Johnson gets inside position and takes the lead.
And it almost seems, Jim, as each time when a rider is in third, he kind of watches the 2 leaders and then makes a big move that carries him through into the lead. And the dicing among the leaders is slowing them up relative to the 2 riders who were 4th and 5th. So, in fact, Ward and Chandler are closing in on the top 3.
I said before that stamina would not be a factor from a physical standpoint. That is probably true. But certainly concentration becomes a factor as you continue to race wheel to wheel at these speeds. Back out onto the straight. Ricky Johnson still with the lead. Howerton trying to go by him again. This is where Howerton passed on the last lap. Again, he gets inside position. Again, he takes the lead.
And notice that we are starting to see Danny Chandler in 4th place. He's closing in on that leading group. You can see him just behind them now as Howerton continues to lead.
Next to last lap. It is still Howerton with the lead, Ricky Johnson in second place, Glover third, and you're absolutely right, Sam Posey. Danny Chandler is getting closer and closer, yard by yard. Now they are really bearing down as they come off of the asphalt, get ready to hit the hairpin, and go back to the dirt.
Howerton has been very careful in selecting defensive lines, Jim, cutting in tightly into the turn so that people can't pass him. This could be a critical factor as we approach the last lap because he may be a guy that's very, very hard to pass on this track.
He holds the lead now. Johnson moving back up on his back wheel. Brock Glover, for whatever reason, seems to have dropped off just a little bit as he slides through the dirt. Now it seems to be becoming perhaps a 2-man race between Howerton and Johnson. They come up over that knoll, and you can see that Howerton stretches the lead just a little bit. His 9 years of experience and edge in age, perhaps an advantage now as he tries to steer what Sam Posey eloquently called a defensive line to keep Ricky Johnson behind him.
Well, also, Ken Howerton knows this is going to be his last race. He said it would be. Perhaps with that extra inspiration, he's giving it everything he's got.
They could not be any closer. They'll take the white flag in just a few seconds, and there'll be 1 more lap, just 2 more miles of racing. There it is. Howerton, Johnson, Glover in 3rd place, Chandler in 4th place. All of them motocross racers. All of them know each other's tendencies. Any of the 4 can win.
And you saw Howerton there trying to break the draft, trying to break Ricky Johnson's opportunity to draft him on that straightaway. We'll see if he does it again on this straight.
with his biggest lead so far now as he comes to the hairpin. If he has been vulnerable, it has been on the dirt. Ricky Johnson seems to have been fastest there, but now we'll find out for certain.
Howerton has run a thinking man's race the entire way. If he does retire from racing, they say he's going into stunt work and movies and television, and you can see it's that kind of approach, thinking things through. How are things going to work out that have put him where he is? Look at those shadows almost reaching right across the track as we near the end of this race.
Now into the motocross section, up over the hill. Glover in third place. He is probably out of it at this moment. He may not get a chance to pass the two men in front of him. Ricky Johnson still trying to draw a bead on Kent Howerton. One more left turn onto the asphalt, and then they'll settle things right there.
Johnson has, as you say, one more shot. We'll see it come in this left-hander right here. Johnson can get a good bite, and he has. Johnson is coming on very strong, but Howerton seems to have power.
This is going to be close. It is Howerton. 29-year-old Kent Howerton, who won the first Superbikers event in 1979, has now won it for the second time. In a brilliant battle, a race in which 5 men entered the last lap with a chance to win, Kent Howerton held on.
Well, Jim, rarely do you see a race with such close action. Watch this. This must be one of the most opportunistic moves I've ever seen by a motorcycle racer. Brock Glover, in white, on the right side of the screen there, positioned himself absolutely perfectly, and at the right split second, he gunned his bike between his two rivals on the absolutely perfect line, and if you watch as he comes out of the turn, he has that bike under absolutely perfect control. I just don't see how he could have done that any better.
That was a remarkably canny move, but ultimately it wouldn't be enough, as it was Howerton who held the cards on the last 2 laps. Let's look at the critical pass in the race. This was at the beginning of lap 9, a repeat of what Howerton had done at the beginning of lap 8 when he got the inside line on turn 1 and went by Ricky Johnson. From that point on, Howerton never surrendered the lead again.
Kent, from 1979 to now, it's been a long drought, but you're back on top.
I'll tell you what, it feels so good. And, you know, this is probably going to be my last race. So this was really important for me to win, so I just can't believe it. I really can't believe it.
The feeling you have now as a winner, that doesn't change your mind about retiring?
No, this kind of racing is a lot different. You know, it's a lot easier on your body. Going out and riding stadiums and nationals and stuff is so hard on your body, and I'm just getting too old and I got too many injuries. And this is just a real fun race.
Well, congratulations to you. It was fantastic. Of course, your closest pursuer, Rick Johnson. Rick, that was a magnificent race. It was close the whole way.
I wouldn't go as far as saying magnificent because I didn't win, but it was a real good race. Kent was getting me a little bit on the straightaways, but I was trying to make it back up in the dirt. You know, it turned out pretty good. I would have liked to have won, but that's the way it goes.
The period you were in the lead, did you think you could shake him?
No, because it's a little bit harder when you're in front of someone because you don't have really a braking marker. You when you're in second or third, you wait for the person in front of you to start braking, then you go just a little bit further so you can, you know, stay closer or pass them coming into the turn.
Oh, it was a magnificent race.
Thank you very much, Sam.
There'll be plenty more chances for Ricky Johnson. He's only 20 years old. 29-year-old Kent Howerton, this was one to remember. Final results again. Howerton the winner, Johnson second, Glover third, Danny Chandler fourth, Jeff Ward fifth. The only bad news, all 5 are motocross racers.